Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 201 of the Sophie Art Podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things, and we do it with the little co-host, lilDENNiS, who's back once again with us. He's still wearing his little jumper, but my mum says she likes him better naked. So today, lilDENNiS is taking his jumper off. Yay! We've got the old classic back. Straight in with the kisses. But today's podcast is going to be all about my recent lucid dreams, because when I did last week's podcast, looking back at the previous podcasts, I actually realised that I hadn't spoken about my lucid dreams for a while. So that's going to be today's podcast. And some of the topics, sort of the things we're coming up with, is going to be talking about the dream, how I think the dream realm and the dream figures, they exist independently of us. How false awakenings are like multi-layered dreams. So it's almost like dreams within dreams. Shapeshifters, that's going to be cool. I've got this thing where I've noticed that water and electricity can't be recreated properly in lucid dreams, in the dream realm. I'll talk about that, and I'm also going to talk about how the energy body feels like a full body orgasm, like the butterfly sensations. So that's some of the things we've got coming up. I've got my dream diary with me, and if you're watching on YouTube at youtube.com/Sophie Lawson, you're able to see, well, I've got my wig on today. I don't know why, I felt in the mood for putting a wig on. So I got my little wig on, which is going to be cool. But before we get into the podcast, I've got to give away an issue of the Character Design Quarterly magazine, which is issue number 19. So what I did was I did a quick look video of this a few weeks ago, and what actually happened was 3D Toto Publishing, the people who make this magazine, what they did was they sent me 2 copies. So I thought what I'll do is I'll send one out. I'll give one to like a subscriber, something like that. So I asked for questions, and the question was, because on the cover of this magazine you got this beautiful little girl reading a book, and she's surrounded by little like bunny creatures. So the question was, what is she reading? So what I thought I'd do is I'll read some of the answers out, and then I'll announce the winner. Da-da-da! It's quite exciting. So the first one was from Blooming Solitude, and they said, such a cool question. I think she's reading an old book that she found in a thrift shop, which I thought was cool. So in America they call second-hand shops thrift shops. I prefer charity shops. Well, I call them second-hand shops. My mum calls them charity shops, and then America calls it thrift shops. Talking about that, I found there's this board game called Hero Quest. I actually found it in a second-hand shop for £3.50. That's amazing, because you can sell that for like about 70 quid. It's mad. But this one here says, I thought it would be a perfect way to relax in the fields as the sun sets. The book is about friendly, mystical, furry creatures and fairies set in magical woods, which I thought was cool. What I liked about that was it created like a scene in my head. The next one was by Jenny Jen, and they said, I hope I get it. They said, I always look forward to your videos. She is reading A Bunny's Fairy Tale. How cool is that? Little Bunny's Fairy Tale. Ariana, I love that name. Ariana. Beautiful name. They said, maybe she's reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, since in the scene we have a rabbit, meadow and a girl who reminds us of her sister. That's the thing, it's a very sort of magical cover, this one. It's really beautiful. What I like is she's reading, but you don't know what she's reading, so it sort of gets you curious, I suppose. And the next one was Cooking Divas. Hello Cooking Divas. This one was, the girl is Ali, and the rabbit next to her is her pet and best friend Alfie, which I like that because my granddad was called Alfie. She's reading a book titled Down the Rabbit Hole, which I like that as well because it reminds me of The Matrix, going down the rabbit hole. and it's the short stories, some about her mum Alice and the White Rabbit on their adventures, one involving time about why the White Rabbit is late, and some others about conspiracy theories. That'd be cool. The next one, this is the last one, it's actually by Genie Bottle, which is a cool name, and Genie, well, here we go, look, she's reading your diary. How cool is that? With all your intimate desires and wondering how she can fulfill them. So I thought they were brilliant, and the winner, dun 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 dun, the winner is Genie Bottle. Yay! Genie Bottle wins, because I like the thought that she's reading my diary. And I said, is it my dream diary? she's reading my dream diary. What I liked about that one was it's like really, I thought it was really sort of creative and a bit of fun in it as well. So you're going to win this. I hope you enjoy it. The thing for me is these character design quarterly magazines, I think they're the best. I think they're the best magazines for artists if you're into like characters and stuff. That's what I think. So we've done that. Actually, I'm going to put that over there. Hello. I just moved the microphone. Something I noticed on last week's podcast was I don't talk into the microphone enough. But it's quite hard to position it. So I apologise if the sound goes all over the place. So this is going to be a very strange episode, I think, because there's so many ways I could do it. I could go through my dream diary. Well, here we go, watch this. lilDENNiS is going to get us into it. So he's going to sit in his house. Oh, he does look better without his clothes on, actually. Yeah, lilDENNiS without his clothes on. So this one's going to be a bit strange, because I could go through my dream diary and just talk about my dreams. I don't know whether to start with my dreams and then see where that goes, or to actually talk about the topics and refer to the dreams. But the thing is, I said this to my mum this morning, because my mum's having this reoccurring dream about, she's got this big panther on her bed and she keeps dreaming that it's coming to life. Now she's called it a shadow. So it makes me wonder whether it's like some sort of thing about her shadow self. That's what I'm thinking. But I said to my mum, you'll have a dream. You could even have like the most vivid dream you could ever imagine. It's amazing how quickly you'll forget about it. So that's the thing. If you don't write it down in your dream diary straight away, you're probably going to forget about it. And even if you do write it, a few days later, you'll remember like main bits of it, but it's amazing how much you forget. So if I talk about my dream stuff, I might actually get some of it wrong in that. But there's one thing here which I've put, which I said, this is linked to the dream thing. I said, I think knowledge is fractal. So this is why you're never going to be able to work something out with the mind, because I'm thinking it's fractal. In other words, you've got a question, so you get an answer to the question. That answer creates, say, 3 more questions. So you answer that question, you get now 3 more questions. In other words, the original question creates 3. You answer the original question, you get 3 more questions. Each of those 3 questions, you're going to have 3 questions. It's never ending. So I feel like you can't work things out with the mind. So I do think like knowledge is fractal. I'm not sure what made me think of that, but it came to me while I was asleep. I sort of woke up and thought that. This week's inspirational quote is going to be cool though. I actually come up with this again. I woke up and wrote it in my dream diary. So sometimes you write things in your dream diary and you sort of think, where did that come from? Because it's quite weird. So what am I going to do? Well, I've got 5 dreams that I've picked out from the last week. One of them I've called Fireball in the Sky. I've called another one I Can Be Whoever You Want Me to Be. Another one is called Backwards Wormhole. And that's cool, that one. That's probably my favourite one because it was an out-of-body experience. The next one's called A Familiar Place. And then another one's called Attached to a Doppelganger. So what am I going to do? Well, let's start. actually, I want to do the topics. So the first topic I've got is, I think the dream realm and the figures exist independently of us. So this is quite interesting because my mum said this as well. My mum said she was explaining the dream that she had last night to me, and she said she was in this long, like, corridor. Well, it was actually a part, like a road in the middle of the desert, she said, and as far as you could see, it was a road. And she said, I've been here before. So in other words, she it's like she's going into a place that she's been in before. Now, one of my dreams that I had, I was in this place, and a lot of my dreams lately have got water in them, like floods and like really like crazy water, like waves, violent waves, I suppose. One of these dreams, I was guiding this girl around a dream, and what happened was, she said, I want to go to the maze. Now, I knew that I've been in this dream before, so there's a maze over there. So, like, in my head, I could actually picture the dream, like the environment in that dream. So even though I hadn't been there, I knew where it was. Very much like as if, like the real world. Like, you know, like where the shops, like where you live, you know where the shops are, the roads are. It was like that. It's as if I sort of knew, as if the dream realm that I was inside of was actually real. And I thought it was quite weird. My mum said the same thing this morning. And the thing is, I've had this so many times. Now, one of the most amazing ones, which is the same thing, I think the dream realm, see, I think it is existing independently of us. So in other words, we're going into that place. It's not that we're creating it. I think it actually exists. And I think the dream figures are the same. So what happened was, I had this, well, I'll talk about it in a minute. I'm having this is to do with the shapeshifters. I'm having this sort of, I would call it a devil. It's like a demon girl, but she's, well, this entity, whatever it is coming into my dreams as this really sexy lady. But I can tell that I think it's some sort of, it's either my shadow self, or some sort of negative entity that's trying to trick me. But the thing is, these dream figures exist independently of us as well. I'm beginning to think that, because what happened was, I was in this dream with this figure. I woke up, but I was in a false awakening. So a false awakening is when you realise you're dreaming. Well, you wake up, you realise you're dreaming, so you wake yourself up. You wake up, you think you're awake, only to realise that you're actually still dreaming. So you're in like a dream within a dream. So what happened was, I realised that I was still dreaming. So I thought, well, I'm going to wake myself up now, and I can tell now when I'm actually awake. So if I wake up and I'm in a false awakening, I'm still in a dream, I can tell pretty much instantly, because there's a feeling associated with actually waking up. It's almost like you have to force yourself awake, and it creates like a jolt, which I think is something to do with energy. I think it's to do with the energy body re-entering your body, and I think it actually creates, like, that's what, you know, like sometimes you're about to fall asleep and you jolt. I think that's something to do with the energy body shifting back into the body. It's something to do with energy, I think. So what happened was, I was starting to, I thought, well, I'm going to wake myself up. So I started to wake myself up, and then I thought, well, hang on, I don't have to wake myself up. I should go back into the dream and have a lucid dream. So what had happened was, I'd woken up in this bed with this girl who I knew was this, I keep calling it the devil, but I'm not sure, but it's this shape-shifting negative entity that keeps manifesting as a beautiful female. So what happened was, as I started waking up, I was actually going backwards out of the dream, as if the dream was disappearing. And I thought, no, I'm going to go back. So I went back into the dream, and I popped back into my dream body where I was. But all of the other dream figures in that dream were actually turned away as if they were watching my let's call it energy body or astral body leaving the dream. In other words, the minute I decided to go back into the dream, it's as if I teleported back into the dream body, but all the other dream figures were still looking at the other dream thing. And I said, I said to the shapeshifter, I said, this proves that you exist without me. Because what had happened was, they had thought I had left the dream, and so they were starting to go about their own business. So in other words, they were still existing, even though I wasn't in the dream. I remember I wrote something about that because I thought about how weird it was. Yeah, this is the thing. It's quite hard to, when you're writing in your dream diary, it's full of so many scribbles and stuff. It's very hard to find what you want to find, and it's also very hard sometimes to read it. But there's something here that I remember this as well. I was walking down this road. It's like it's around the corner, but in the horizon was loads of pyramids. There's 7, if I put here, 7 pyramids in the distance. Very weird, but the thing with that one is that was one of those vivid ones. Like, I can even now, thinking about it, I can see it. I love those ones. Full body orgasm, I've put. Yeah, look, don't let a voice said, don't let them distract you. I had to keep my balance. Oh, this was another one. I ended up on this little pillar, like as if it was just enough. It was like miles up in the air, a little like wooden pillar, just enough for my foot, and I had to keep my balance. All around me was these hands trying to grab me. I can't find the bit what I said to that girl, but I said something like, this proves that you exist without me, sort of thing. So I just find it interesting how, and it makes me wonder, what's going on here? If we're going into the dreams, are we going into a dream realm that already exists, or are we creating it? And for me, the more I see, the more I think we're actually going into an actual, I almost said a physical place that actually exists. But then you start, if all these dream figures are existing without you, what does that mean? That means they've got their own sort of consciousness and things. The next thing I put here is false awakenings are multi-layered dreams. So I think I talked about this before, but like this past week, every time I've woken up from a lucid dream, I've gone into a false awakening. And I've actually had dreams. I had a dream this week where I was talking to my dad, and I said inside of the dream, even though I wasn't lucid, my dream self said, I'm going to wake myself up now. As if my dream self was lucid, but I wasn't. And then when he wakes up from that, I'm in a false awakening. So it's almost as if, for me, that feels as if somehow I'm going into a dream. At night time, I go into the dream world, the dream realm, and I go to sleep. It's as if my dream self can actually do it the same thing and go to sleep. So then all of a sudden you're in dreams within dreams. And then when you wake up, I feel like when you wake up, you've got to go through. It's almost as if you've got to go back through all of the dream selves. So if you've had a dream and your dream self is having a dream, and that dream self is having a dream, can you see how it could go on forever? You could have and then the thing is, so what happens for me is I might be in a dream down the bottom, like say a 4th level dream, and if I try to wake myself up, say something happens and I want to remember it and write it in my dream diary, what will happen is normally I'll wake myself up. At first I won't realise I'm awake. I'll be writing in my dream diary and I'll realise I'm dreaming. So I have to wake myself up again. This will go on 4 or 5 times by the time I've finally woken up, some of the dream that I wanted to remember has got lost. So I wonder sometimes whether the dream's doing it on purpose to try and stop me remembering, or whether, all I know is there's something going on with these false awakenings. They feel quite sort of important. Yeah, it's weird, because I've also thought, is it maybe possible that what's happened is, when we're dreaming, we go, our astral body is like going out somewhere, exploring. And then if we become lucid and we wake ourselves up, what if the astral body isn't quite ready? Basically, what if the astral body has to get back into the physical body, and there's going to be a little bit of a time delay there? So if you wake yourself up before your astral body's ready, maybe the dream puts you into a false awakening to sort of, as a way of sort of trying to get the astral body back in time. Do you know what I'm saying? It almost as if the dream is sort of, I was going to say as if the dream itself is conscious. Something. The next thing I want to talk about is these shapeshifters. So I've noticed this as well. There's a lot of shape-shifting going on in these dreams. So it's weird. So the main one for me is, there's so many things I want to talk about all at once. The thing for me, what makes me think is, when we die, I think we're going to go face to face with basically like our loved ones, monsters. So you're going to go face to face with negative and positive energies, which are going to shapeshift. All it is data or energy, and it shapeshifts and creates a form. And I think it's going to use data from your life. So what it'll do is it will shapeshift into, like, say for instance, my nan. So it will look like my nan. So if I'm not aware of what's happening, I'll think I'm talking to my nan. But what happens is, there's little things you can do to tell whether it's the real thing or not. And it's very subtle, because the thing is, it's almost like a 99.9% recreation of the thing it's trying to copy. But it can't quite do very much like how the dream can't simulate 100% electric, like light switches, and it also can't simulate water. In other words, in dreams, you can go into water and breathe. It's as if the dream can't simulate the effect of water killing you or something. Like, why should you be able to breathe underwater? And also, why is it that electric things don't work properly? The amount of times I'm in a dream and something won't work, like light switches, they very rarely do they work. And if they do work, they don't work properly. But also, you might have, like, say, if you've got a mobile phone in a dream, it will start misbehaving. It's as if the dream can sort of create what looks like a mobile phone, but the actual sort of electricness of it can't simulate that. So that's how you can catch it out, which is what can make you realise you're dreaming. And it's the same with these shapeshifters. So the first thing, what I've noticed is their eyes are different. There's something about their eyes. It's very hard to explain it, but you know, like a video game. These video games are so realistic, but if you look at their eyes, there's always a little tiny thing that their eyes look dead, I suppose. But with these dream figures, their eyes look weird. Like I had one where it was Bill Gates, and his eye was full of little dots, like data or something. Now it's weird actually, because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and who was it? I can't remember, but he said, what he said was, I can't remember. He was talking about these, I think it was either ancient people or aliens or something, and they didn't have any pupils, so they didn't have the black bit in the eye. Imagine that, must be weird. But the other thing, so the eyes are a telltale sign, but the main thing is you feel them. So if you feel them, now the thing that's weird is when you're in one of these dreams, it feels real. So you can actually feel the skin of these dream figures, and it feels like it feels real, but it doesn't feel like a human, basically. So it feels, the temperature doesn't feel right, and it also doesn't feel like skin. It feels like like Stretch Armstrong, like that. It feels a bit like that. Again, almost as if the dream can create what looks like a human, but it can't create what's underneath it. Something like that. Same sort of thing as these electric things. It can create what looks like a phone, but it can't recreate the actual insides of it, which I think is the energy. It can't create the energy, which might actually just be consciousness. Maybe it can't create consciousness or something. So these shapeshifters or dream figures, whenever I've touched them, they always feel a bit like a plastic, like a soft plastic doll or something. Now, what's weird is, the other day I was talking to my mum, because when my nan died, my mum went into the thing to see the body. She actually saw like my nan as a dead body sort of thing, and I said to her, "Oh, what did she look like and stuff?" And she said, "Oh, it looked like your nan, but you could sort of tell it wasn't." But I said, "Did you touch her?" And Mum says, "Yeah." She held her hand, and she said, "What?" I said, "What did it feel like?" She said, "She felt like she wasn't cold, but she wasn't warm. So at the temperature," and then she said, "It felt like a plastic doll." So that's weird. That is weird. Again, it's almost as if these dream figures are dead bodies. So what's the difference between a dead body and a live body? It's the soul, the energy, like the life force. So these dream figures seem to be lacking something, but they are conscious. They seem to be conscious. But this is my observations at the minute. You've got to look for anomalies. So what I'm thinking is, when we die, we're going to come face to face with these things. And so many people have said when a lot of people will die and they won't realise they've died. So again, I think this is going to come down to awareness. You've got to be super aware of what's happening. And I think what will happen is you might get tricked by these negative and positive creatures, which I think what they would do is they would try to take you into different directions. Because when you die, I think your journey is going to carry on, but it will be like you're at a crossroads where your energy body is going to be able to go off in different directions. You could maybe come back as another human. I think you could actually go right out of the system and become like a creator yourself. But I think there's going to be these energies which are going to be shape-shifting into like humans, and they're going to be trying to pull us in different directions. And I think the only way, what we're going to have to do is we're not going to be able to use our mind we're not going to be able to think our way through it. We're going to actually have to go off of feeling. So this is where you're going to have to look for these subtle anomalies. Like the way you become lucid in a dream is you can hit a light switch, and if the light doesn't work, you can realise you're dreaming. It's little things like that which I think we're going to have to be aware of when we're dying, or when we've died. And then I think what will happen is you'll actually become lucid in your death. Which, how weird is that going to be? But imagine how weird it's going to be if you died, you realise you died, but you still think you're you, but you know that you can't get back to being you because you've died. that is going to be really weird. I've sort of felt, I had an experience a few years ago where I had a string of false awakenings. It was about 8 of them. And I was desperate to wake up, and I couldn't. And by the end of that, it was a little bit scary, because you felt like you were trapped in the dream realm. So, but what I'm saying is, imagine if you're in a dream, but you realise you've died, but you can't get back to your body because you've died. That's going to be a little bit weird. I can imagine that could be a little bit frightening. And I could imagine at that moment, if one of these shapeshifters manifested and said, look, I can get you back to your body, I could imagine it would be very tempting to say, yeah, I want that, because part of you would miss it as well. But you're going to have to just say no, because you've got to be free, because otherwise you're going to be in the same cycle again. So what I do think is that the dream realm is somehow, it's almost like preparation for the death. That's what I wonder. But there's definitely some sort of tricksterness going on here. This little shapeshifter I've got is manifesting as this beautiful girl. I'm going to talk about these experiences in a minute. But the other thing here is water and electricity can't fully be recreated, which I think is very telling. Because again, if you look at all these ancient... Well, me and my mum was watching this thing yesterday. I think it was 5 or 7 things that have got scientists baffled. And one of them was like Göbekli Tepe, which is this thing they've uncovered, which was deliberately buried 12,000 years ago, which basically ruins the history that we've been told. But there was these other things, there was this castle, massive castle, so beautiful, and it was supposed to have been made with little chisels and hammers, and if you saw it, there was thousands of statues carved beautifully. There was another one to do with Shiva, and what they did was they dug into the mountain, so they effectively carved in reverse this intricate temple inside of the cave, inside of the mountain. You see some of these things, you think, how is it, we wouldn't even be able to do that now. So it's obvious that something fishy's going on in the past. But one of the things that, one of the things they keep talking about is how they think that these ancient structures were actually some sort of, like a computer, basically. Some sort of way of shifting energy around the world. And they were using water. So again, water and electricity seem to be linked. And it's very telling that in the dream realm, these two things, they don't behave properly. Again, it's as if the dream cannot simulate electricity and water. A bit like a video game. A video game can simulate all these things, but eyeballs, the video games really can't create eyeballs that look like eyeballs. So no matter how realistic the thing looks, that eyeball's always going to give it away. But it's just something I've noticed. And I think there's something very important in that. And then the last thing is the energy body feels like a full body orgasm. So I've had many meditations which have been orgasmic. You get to a point you can't actually handle it. I've had that in the lucid dreams as well. But it's always seeming to be linked with out-of-body experiences. So what will happen is you'll be in a dream and you'll start to feel your body vibrating. Feels as if somebody's shaking the bed. But the only way to describe it is it's like a fuzzy feeling all over the body. And what I've noticed is, because I've been really sort of paying attention lately, trying to sort of feel it, and the way I feel it is when you get butterflies in your belly, it's like that all over your body, but it's like an orgasm feeling. It's as if your whole body is having an orgasm. And I think what it is it's the energy body like your soul, if you want to call it, coming out of the body. And I think that your soul, your energy, feels like an orgasm. So this goes into something else. Like, if you get really deep into meditation or something, you can get to that place which they call the oneness, of like endless expansion. That endless expansion has this same sort of orgasmic feeling to it. So I'm thinking that the truth is like orgasm, that feeling. It's cool though. But this is also why sometimes it is almost, you have to wake yourself up because it gets too much. It's weird. But what I do like is, the more you do this, the more you feel things. So, well, here we go. Fireball in the sky. I'll talk about some of my dreams now, 5 of them. I'll try to do it off the top of my head, and if not, I'll go into my dreams. But last night I had one, and what happened was there's this girl. Oh, see, I've thought of something else now. Well, that's the doppelganger. It's the same thing. I'm having reoccurring dreams of the same thing. But like I said, it's shape-shifting into different things, but it's the same. And I'm starting to notice that. But something I've noticed, I've had about 4 of these, where I will look up at the sky and I'll see the sun in the dream. But what will happen is the sun will suddenly split apart into 2 suns. And that will normally make me lucid. Well, last night I looked up at the sky in a dream and the moon was there, and the moon suddenly separated into 2. Now I don't know what that's all about, but I feel like there's something to that. Now what's weird is, if you've ever done eye gazing, if you go outside, and it's best to do it when the sun is setting, because it's much kinder on your eyes. You can actually look at the sun and like basically stare at it, and what will happen is the sun will start to, this is what I've noticed, the sun will start as if it's vibrating. It will start moving, and you will see like something around it, like almost like a heat haze, but it's not. It's like a sort of a ring around it, and if you look at it, you can get to a point where it starts to look like there's actually 2 suns there. I don't know what that's all about. It's just something I've noticed. But last night, the moon was up there, and the moon was getting bigger and bigger, and it was actually like a fireball. It was turning into a fireball. So imagine loads of little explosions. The surface of the moon had all these explosions on it. So I said to this dream figure, and I said, why is the moon like a fireball? And she said, we're going to use that for our new calendar. Which makes me get this sense that my thought was, when they do the reset and when they recreate this simulation or repopulate the Earth, they're going to use that moon as the calendar, something like that. But I just thought it was a bit weird how. So again, if you're in a dream and you become lucid, look at the moon, look at the sun, and see what it does, because that will also behave a bit strangely. That's what I've noticed. I've got another dream here. I can be whoever you want me to be. This dream figure is basically shape-shifting into a beautiful female and trying to sort of, I suppose, seduce me, but I'm seeing through it. That's the thing. So last night I said, who are you? Because I'm sort of thinking, hey, this reminds me of something else as well. I had this dream the other night. I was walking down the street, and I could feel somebody behind me, my shadow self. I turned around and I said, who are you? What are you? So I actually faced it. So this is the same thing. I feel like it's all the same thing. This there's something strange going on here with it's the shadow, which I think could be some sort of spirit. And what I think is spirits are influencing us in our dreams. And what they're doing is, see, if I wasn't lucid in those dreams, a spirit could come into your dream, shapeshift into something, so you don't realise what it is, you think it's someone else. It could actually give you an experience in your dream which shapes your reality when you wake up. So I feel like that's what's happening. We've got spirits, positive and negative, like influencing us in our dreams. So when we wake up, we're doing things without realising it, based off of these experiences. So, but last night I said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I can be whoever you want me to be. I can be your higher self." She said, "I am your higher self. I can be whoever you want me to be." And I said, "No, you're the devil." What I did was I picked her up and I threw her into the water. Now, as she went down, at first I thought she had a bit of cord, like, you know when you've got like a jumper, it catches on something and the thread comes out. I thought she had a bit of, like, she had caught a jumper or something on the pier, because I threw her into the water. When I looked, what actually happened was she had like a cord connected to my belly button. So I'm thinking she's attached to me somehow. And then what happened was I woke myself up into a false awakening, and she was still there. Again, as if she's sort of attached to me, which is making me think she's something to do with my shadow. Because it goes into the doppelganger I'll talk about in a minute. This doppelganger, which is actually like something to do with my shadow, I think. So that was something else I noticed. And then what that also made me think is, when we are born, we've got this umbilical cord. What if that umbilical cord is like it's the way that energy gets transmitted between your mum and you? Like, what if that umbilical cord is some sort of wormhole for energy or something? Or even spirits. Spirits could go through that. Just something I thought about. And then what happened after that was, I actually, because we was in the pier, I said, "I'm dreaming, I can go in the water." So I just walked into the water, and then I jumped into the water, and then I woke up into the false awakening. But I love going into the water when you know that you're dreaming, because you can you're in the water, you can breathe under the water. So all of a sudden you've got this massive. I feel quite powerful in water when I'm lucid, because you can breathe and stuff. It feels cool. Now this next one, I put backwards wormhole. This is where I thought about an umbilical cord. Is the umbilical cord some sort of wormhole? But this was a weird one. So this is off the top of my head. What happened was, I had a dream, and I was basically I could feel that I was in bed, but I also could feel that I was dreaming at the same time, as if we've got two awarenesses at the same time, which is very hard to explain that. But what happened was, I was out exploring. Suddenly I started going backwards, as if I was going backwards out of the dream, and I was going backwards, and I could see like basically like a wormhole. Inside of the wormhole was the visuals of the dream, as if you were sort of stepping back from a TV set. So when you're in a dream, you're right up close to the TV, as if you're inside of it. But if you go backwards, you realise that the dream is inside of like a wormhole. So I was going backwards like that, and it was all flashing like that. And every as I was going backwards, you could see different things. Like one minute you were seeing clouds, next minute you were seeing other things. This one here, I want to try and find this in my dream. I wish I could find where I've wrote about them. But what basically happened was, I went backwards, and then woke into a false awakening. Which again, that made me feel like, is that me somehow I don't know. There's something very important to these false awakenings. I feel like they're acting as some sort of like a waiting room, something like that. But I want to know what is creating these false awakenings. Is the false awakening another parallel universe? It's weird. Very weird. The next one is a familiar place, which I talked about. It's that thing where you can have a dream, and you can sort of you've almost got like in your head a map of the world, which is weird. It makes me think that what's happening is we're going into these dreams all the time, but we're not aware of it. But the memory's staying in our head, like that. The next one is called attached to a doppelganger. Now this one's very interesting. So I talked about this before. I have this reoccurring thing in a dream where feels like there's something attached to my back. And what was weird was when I first started happening, I saw a video on, it was David Icke. Now he very randomly drew a picture of it was like a human, and behind them was like a cord coming out of them with this spirit, an entity. I think he was talking about reptilians, basically saying that these reptilians are like attached to your back. So basically what it is you've got like a spirit, a negative spirit, attached to you. And I thought, wow, that's just like the thing I've had in my dream. So a couple of nights ago I was in this dream, and it feels like you're giving someone a piggyback. So you can feel them, like it's quite a smothering feeling. Yeah, it feels like it's a bit smothering, and you think you sort of want to shake them off, but you can't. And if you turn around to see what it is, you can't, because they're turning around with you. So again, it's a very sort of like a trickster thing. But what happened was I thought, well, hang on a minute. I was in this dream and I said, right, what is this? I saw a mirror. I looked in the mirror and what I saw was myself. So in other words, attached to my back was me. It was a doppelganger attached to my back. But the thing that was weird was it looked like Kevin. So it looked more like Kevin, my male self, than me. And I just thought, what, that's weird. Which makes me think it's your shadow self. It's your shadow. Because your shadow is you. It's the other side of you. Yeah. It was quite weird. But that's the first time I've actually seen what this thing looks like. And I thought, how weird is it that it's me? But I thought it was cool as well. So if I just quickly go through my dreams, see if anything pops out. Yeah, one of them I was guiding this lady around. This is fun. There's a lot of humour in these dreams as well, which I like that. Yeah, so what I also like is how the dream uses your own memories of the waking state. This is the thing. Sometimes you'll have a dream and you can tell that it's your waking memory that has created the scene. But there's other times where you're in a completely weird location. It's as if you've been teleported there. I'm having a lot of dreams about being back at school. Yeah, in this dream with this full body orgasm thing, a lady's voice said, your soul body. And then I've put soul body energy. And I've put, you saw it in reverse. The wormhole, you saw air, clouds and a water splash. That was the final bit, as if you had splashed into the water. And I said, you felt your astral, but I never talked about that. So I was in bed, and this is it. I was in bed, and what happened was, I was feeling the out-of-body sensations, which is the vibrations and things. So I was aware that I was in bed, and I was aware that I was, like, dreaming, feeling these out-of-body things. And I said, all of a sudden, I could feel my arms as if they were up in the air, but I knew they wasn't, because I knew I could feel them in bed as well. So I could feel both at the same time. And I said, right, hang on, let's get what I want. Let's sit up, basically, see what happens. So what I did was I sat up, and I could tell that it wasn't me. It was my astral body. I basically sat up. I had basically got my astral body out of my body. And then what I said was, right, wake yourself up now, and it will prove that you went out of body. And that's when all of a sudden I went backwards through this wormhole. But, so that's the thing. Earlier I was walking, someone behind me, I turned and said, who are you? What do you want? But here, I face my shadow, which is cool. And I find it very strange that my mum keeps having this dream about her shadow. Thing. The jolt awake. So the way that I know if I've actually woken up is I feel the jolt. If you don't feel the jolt, you're probably in a false awakening. That's what I've noticed. And I think that jolt is to do with the energy body, getting back into the physical. Devil as a girl, I said, yeah, I like this look. So the devil was in the bed. Because what happened was I felt her, and I could feel that I knew straight away it was this shapeshifter. And I said, I said, even if you're the devil, you're still very pretty. And I kissed her, which I like that. It's kind of cool. Like, you're face to face with a monster and you still kiss it. I thought it was brilliant. But the thing was, it was a kiss, not like a sexual kiss. It was like a sort of like just a nice kiss. But the amount of times I'm writing in my dream diary, only to wake up and realise I haven't wrote it. I was still dreaming, which is cool. Oh, the little black cat on my bed. Yeah, like a tiny cat. Imagine a cat like a little tiny one. Yeah, that was cool. I bet if it's important, you'll remember it. And I'm trying to work out if this shapeshifter is the devil. It feels like something very sort of the best word I would use for it is trickster. And it's a shapeshifter. So this is it really. Energy. Oh, this was another thing as well. I had that out-of-body experience. I had a string of false awakenings. I woke myself up and I got out of bed to go to the toilet. Now what's weird is, I don't know if you notice this, if you just lie down and stare at the ceiling, or stare at a painted wall, a white wall or something, if you just stare at it but don't stare at it, so you're sort of staring at nothing really, you can see white noise. You can see that the air is full of white noise, like a TV set. And if you watch it, you can see that these things are popping in and out and sort of like zigzagging about. But what happened was, so again, I think this is energy. I feel like that's actually the energy all around us. But what happened was, when I got out of bed after that experience, it was as if there was a blizzard of white noise. So in other words, I was because it was the middle of the night, so it was pretty dark. All I could see was white noise everywhere. And I thought, is this to do with the fact that your energy body is that something to do with your energy body, that the white noise? And is that to do with the thing they call like dark matter and dark energy? Is that what they called it? Well, that thing that Tesla was tapping into? He was tapping into like free energy. Is it the thing that they've been harnessing with the pyramids? Like the ancients, were the ancients tapping into this energy that's all around us? Because like you can see it, and I wonder whether that's the code of the Matrix. I know it sounds a bit crazy. What if we are inside of a virtual reality, and all of the white noise is like the data basically? It's the data that hasn't been put into a structure. It's weird. Anything else in here? I don't. Oh, this was another thing as well. I had this dream where I was the one when I feel like they were existing without me. When I actually left that, the second time I left it, when I was leaving it for the proper time, again I went backwards, and the dream is as if the dream was in a little box going backwards like that. So I'm sort of leaving the dream, but the dream that 1 minute you was inside of as like a virtual reality, all of a sudden it becomes like it's on a TV set, and the TV set's moving backwards through time, through space, but you can still see all the people inside of it. I could hear them, and one of them was saying, "Thank God they've gone." Again, as if they didn't want me there. Like, why are dream figures saying stuff like that? It's weird. Again, it makes me think that they've got their own sort of consciousness or something. I've got another one here. I was climbing a massive tree, and I got really high up with the birds' nests. Every night I've had strings of false awakenings, which is weird. Devil girl took me to one side. Yeah, we were dancing or something. Yeah. There's one here. I was in the car with my dad, and I realised what happened was my dad had took me somewhere to pick up an art book. In the dream, I realised that I'd got it wrong, so I'd taken my dad completely to the wrong place. So I said, "Oh, sorry, Dad, I got it wrong. We're in the wrong place here." And then I said, "I'm going to wake myself up now." That was a regular dream, but my dream self would knew that it was dreaming, even though I didn't. This is what I'm saying. It gets a bit weird, which I think is where we're getting into these false awakenings. I wonder what's happening. So, and then last night it was all about moon, water and children. So what I did was I woke up. As soon as I woke up, I put the word moon, water, children. Because what was happening was these little kids were chasing after us on this skateboard. So that's weird. But I've got a feeling there's two types of energies at play in our dreams. I think one of them is positive and one of them negative. And what's happening is the negative one has the ability to shapeshift, and what it can do is it can shapeshift to look like the positive one, which is where it's very clever. So that's just my observations at the minute. So if I summed it up, I would say something to do with wormholes, something to do with energy. It's all to do with energy and consciousness, and yeah, I feel like it's negative and positive, something like that. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I think it was all over the place, but it's quite hard to talk about these because I've got millions of things I want to talk about, and like I said, you're trying to remember dreams when you've only got snippets of it, but you can't go through your dream diary properly because it'd take too long, that would. Right, I hope you enjoyed it, and what I'm going to do is I'll try to do it a bit more structured next time maybe, but I also like sometimes just talking about these things without structuring it, because things come up that you don't know. Boing! lilDENNiS has said it's game over for this one. Like I said, I do hope you enjoyed it. Now, this week's inspirational quote, this one's going to be very interesting. This one here came to me inside of a lucid dream. So what happened was I woke up after this a couple of lucid dreams, and I wrote this down, and I think this sums it up beautifully. What I wrote was, I said, you have to be a detective in reverse to understand the dream realm. And I think that sums it up brilliantly. The dream realm is like some sort of super illusion, basically. It's like a twisted puzzle. Something like that. Almost as if the dream itself is a sort of trickster. Yeah. But it's the amount of times that things are playing out in reverse in the dream realm is very strange. And I think it links in a little bit with the thing I've talked about before, where time looks to us like it's flowing forwards, but if it's actually a circle, it means time is flowing forwards and backwards at the same time, but really it's only going in one direction. So what if that's what's happening? Like in the dream realm, you're going backwards. Even though you think you're going forwards, you're going backwards somehow. I don't know. But then I also think this thing that I said about at the start with the knowledge is fractal. If you think about it, you answer a question, you get more questions. So what you've got to do is stop answering the questions and go backwards. And what if you can do that, you'll get back to the original question, which I think is what happens when you silence the mind. That's when you go into that place of expansion, where there's no answers or questions. It's just experience. Something like that. But I like this week's inspirational quote. I thought it's cool. So, you have to be a detective in reverse to understand the dream realm. Let the energy out. Apparently burping's good for you. Apparently burping is good for you. That would do. lilDENNiS, yeah. lilDENNiS, little do-do-do-do. lilDENNiS, lilDENNiS, my baby. lilDENNiS. Let's end that.